Hello and welcome to the Blood Red Morning Bulletin. My name is Emmet, and today I'm joined by my fellow Liverpool.com colleague Andrew Beasley. And Andrew, obviously the transfer window's shut, but that doesn't mean the rumour mill doesn't stop churning every day. Liverpool are linked with this player, that player, and every other type of player. And you still have Jude Bellingham. That saga is constantly churning in the background. Obviously, it's never going away. It kind of comes to the forefront and then fades away into the background. But at the minute, the new name on the block is Kolo Muani, the French striker playing at Eintracht Frankfurt. There's been links that Liverpool have going to make a move from this summer. What have you seen of him? What do you think of him? And do you think he'd be a good fit for Liverpool in general?
There's my dog saying hello again.
He agrees, by the way.
Stuck his face in this video when I was last on it, so he's obviously keen to get involved. He probably knows more about him than I do. I should ask him. Yeah, looks a good player, certainly. He has been linked with Liverpool before. You sort of see this where player will get linked, and then a few months later, it sort of comes around again. You know, we know how it all sort of works. He certainly looks like he could be sort of good enough for Liverpool. I mean, the question is, do they really need a player like him? You could have possibly made that argument a few months ago when the story first came up. But obviously, they've got Núñez, they've bought Gakpo, Diaz, Jota. Do they really need him? I'm not sure they do. I mean, if you even look on FB Ref, I mean, among the players he's most similar to is Darwin Núñez. So sort of like, I mean, no harm in having a backup, I suppose. But I'm not sure Liverpool have got enough need for all of these sort of forwards. I mean, maybe Firmino goes, but they've obviously brought Gakpo in to replace him. And the other players I've mentioned, I haven't even spoken about Salah. So, it's not so much that he's not a good player, but I'm just not sure he's the player they need. Equally, I thought the same about Cody Gakpo, and then they signed him. So, you probably can't rule anything out. But I think clearly, we all know that the need is for midfielders rather than sort of pacey wingers / forward sort of players at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it kind of makes me laugh when you see Liverpool linked with, forwards at this stage. It's like, oh, Liverpool have made contact. I'm like, but Liverpool don't need forwards. Unless Roberto Firmino leaves at the end of the season, I don't see how Liverpool have any need for any more forwards, as you say. And even you could even say, Harvey Elliott could be considered a forward. He could play on the right, of a 4-3-3. Fabio Carvalho can play further forward. So, and with everyone else that you've just mentioned, so to me, it's I kind of scratch my head when I see Liverpool linked with forwards at this stage, because we all know it's midfielders at the club need to sign 1, 2, maybe even 3. So I'm like, there's no need for forwards. They shouldn't. I know obviously the transfer rumor is the transfer rumor, and the transfer rumor mill is a beast onto its own. But I'm like, who makes these rumors up? Like, you just need to look at Liverpool to know that Liverpool don't need any more forwards. I know, as you said, a backup is always good, but what's Kolo Muani going to go for? 25, 30, 40 million? Do Liverpool really need to spend that money on a backup? I can't see it, really. So, yeah, I with you completely. Unless, someone leaves, in the summer. I mean, do you think Roberto Firmino will leave? Or do you think he'll get an extension?
I think he will probably get an extension. He doesn't seem, from what you read, to be sort of angling to leave particularly. Klopp gets criticised sometimes for perhaps being too loyal. But, I mean, if there's any player you can't blame him for being loyal to, it's probably Roberto Firmino after everything he's done over the last few years. And, yeah, having somebody of his experience, probably a sixth choice for the front three next season. But having that experience is fantastic. I mean, obviously, as always, this season, it all comes back to injuries. But, they let Origi go, they let Minamino go, and they haven't really had somebody to sort of play that sort of largely substitute role. And Firmino can be that guy. I mean, I think I'm right in saying he's like the second top scoring substitute in Liverpool history already. And that's not to say that he's always looked brilliant off the bench, but he has proven he can contribute from the bench. So, I think in a season in a summer rather, where there'll be a lot of upheaval in the midfield, keeping things relatively settled up front would be no bad thing. I mean, as I'm sure he realizes, but as long as he's sort of happy to be the sort of sixth choice, perhaps, then yeah, absolutely. I think they should keep him, and I imagine they probably will.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there. With the midfield, if there's going to be a lot of upheaval, it is good to have that stability up front. And I think the thing with Firmino is that it gives Klopp the option to play different systems. We saw Liverpool play, a 4-3-1-2 with Firmino in the hole. And Liverpool arguably don't really have a player similar that can do that type of role except for Firmino. So I think keeping him around gives Klopp, a bit of flexibility in terms of systems. But we'll move on to a couple of the players at the younger end of their careers, and Liverpool have been linked with Sporting Lisbon's defender Goncalo Inacio. I hope I'm saying that right. And Benfica's Antonio Silva. I have to confess I don't know a whole lot about either defender. I know Silva's highly rated, and he's a 19-year-old, and he's only kind of breaking into the Benfica first team this season. Do you know much about them, Andrew? And do you think Liverpool really do they need defenders? Is this an area where Liverpool need to strengthen?
Like you, I don't know a huge amount about them. And similar to Kolo Muani, I think Silva was linked a little while ago, and I sort of did a bit of digging into him then. I don't think I wrote about him, but I did have a little look at him, and he certainly does look impressive. I can't tell you anything really about the other guy, I must be honest. But with Silva, I mean, he's very good at carrying the ball up the pitch, passes into the final third, progressive carrying distance, that sort of thing. I don't feel that Liverpool are sort of desperate for centre backs at the minute, though all of them have had their injury problems over the years. So you could argue perhaps they do, but I mean, you'd have to think if anyone's going to be phased out based on their performance this season, it's probably Joel Matip. Certainly with how he's been playing the last few weeks. And I think I'm right in saying he's only got a year left on his existing contract. So, I mean, if they were looking to replace him, somebody who's comfortable, a centre-back who's comfortable carrying the ball up the pitch would obviously be probably what they'd be looking for, because he's probably got that skill better than any of the other guys. I'm just looking on FBref at the other guy. He's also got good progressive carrying distance, progressive passing distance. So, based on that, these feel like the sort of centre-backs Liverpool could look at with an eye to possibly replacing Matip at some point. But as I say, I will be honest and say I don't know too much about them, really.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there. Obviously, Liverpool have 4 centre-backs, 5 if you count Nat Phillips, but you'd imagine he will leave in the summer. And I'm with you. I know, obviously, our Liverpool.com colleague, James Morton, is a massive fan of Matip, but I think if you were to give anyone the axe this season, it would be Matip, because he has looked vulnerable, I think, at times, and his injuries have kind of come back into focus. And even, in Liverpool's last match against Everton, Matip was a bit shaky at times. And as you said, each individual Liverpool defender has kind of been through, apart from Konate, maybe, I would say all of them have been through downturns in form. Konate's just been a bit injury prone this season, you would say. So, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. I think if Liverpool were going to sacrifice any of the big 4 central defenders, Matip would probably be the one. But
I was just...
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was just looking on Transfermarkt, and Matip is out of contract in 2024. You've then got Van Dijk till 25, Konate till 26, and Gomez till 27. So, based on that, you can't imagine Gomez is going. You can't imagine Konate is going.
Yeah.
And I doubt they get rid of Van Dijk. So, purely from contract situation as much as anything else, Matip, and his performance hasn't been so good this season. Matip is the obvious candidate, really.
Yeah, I think, from a contract standpoint, if Liverpool maybe were looking to make some money on Matip, it has to be this summer. And you doubt maybe they're going to offer him an extension in 2024. So, he looks like the most likely candidate. But moving on now to a player that we both know, Jude Bellingham was very good for Borussia Dortmund last night in the Champions League game against Chelsea. Did you see the match? And what did you think of his performance, if you did?
I was sort of trying to keep an eye on that, keep an eye on the Arsenal-Manchester City game. It's quite hard to keep across everything on a night like that.
You can only watch one game,
Yeah, it's hard to keep an eye on anything. I even wanted to watch a bit of Benfica because they're possible dark horses, although perhaps not now they've lost Enzo Fernandez. But yeah, so I didn't see the match fully. I was trying to keep an eye on it. He looked to do well, the bits and bobs that I saw of him. I mean, that's no surprise to anyone, really. I mean, captaining Dortmund at 19, I mean, nobody needs to sort of particularly see him in a game like that to know that that he's a great player. I saw something yesterday suggesting that Liverpool could move for both him and Mason Mount and how they might sort of combine together and stuff like this, which is an interesting prospect. I'm not sure they'd be able to get both, but obviously they were both on display yesterday. I'm pretty sure Mount played. But obviously, I mean, did you see the game properly? Did you sort of see what he got up to?
Honest, I know I was out yesterday, so I only saw bits of it. Like I saw highlights, so I didn't really watch the full game. But just from what people have been saying, he was him and Emre Can were, former Liverpool player, were very good in the Borussia Dortmund midfield. And I think too, if Borussia Dortmund do go through and they kind of go on a bit of a run, it'll only drive up his transfer fee even higher. And which would affect Liverpool, I think, in the sense that, it's going to get to a point where Liverpool could get priced out of a move for Jude Bellingham. But I mean,
if we're not already at that point, to be honest,
it could be
certainly heading in that direction.
Yeah, it's like we've read that Borussia Dortmund want 150 million euros. Like that could realistically go up. When you see like the likes of Enzo Fernandez going for 110 million euros or 115 million euros,
something like that, yeah.
30 games in Europe. Jude Bellingham has been at Borussia Dortmund a couple of years now. It's like it could go up even higher. So you kind of hope that Borussia Dortmund don't go on a bit of a run, from a Liverpool perspective.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a disaster for Liverpool if they got knocked out. I see we had a comment in the chat there. Bellingham was immense, aggressive. His positioning was great and passing accuracy. When he presses, he reminds me of Hendo, which is an interesting comparison because obviously, I doubt Henderson will leave this summer, but clearly he's not sort of for the long-term future of Liverpool. So, if Bellingham can sort of offer what he does in that sense, then that would be no bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that'll wrap us up for today, Andrew. Thanks for joining me, and thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks for your comments, and we'll see you all again tomorrow.